everyone, Miko here with Behavior Analyst Supervisor. Thank you for joining us for our free Wednesday Zoom calls. Here you're watching on YouTube, but you could also join us on Wednesday. If you're interested in the link to these calls to join live, feel free to send us an email at info@behavioranalystsupervisor.com. You can also just check out our Instagram. We post questions every single day on Instagram. We also post the link to our free Zoom calls. Every Wednesday, we go through a different task list item area, such as A1. We'll talk a little bit about that task list item, and then we'll go through 3 mock exam questions relating to that task list area. We hope that this provides an opportunity for you to learn a little bit more about the task list and also dive deep into question dissection. We here at Behavior Analyst Supervisor really focus on providing explanations on why an answer is correct and why it's also incorrect. So we appreciate that you joined us. If you have any questions throughout the duration of this video, feel free to shoot us an email, hit that like and subscribe button for more information. Also, you can always leave a comment and we'll be sure to reach back out to you. Thanks again, and I'm Miko with Behavior Analyst Supervisor. You'll also be hearing from Amy and Kevin. Talk to you soon.
Welcome to a free Wednesday Zoom. Today, we're going to be doing things just a little bit different. So we have kind of a big topic that we're talking about. Not big as in difficult, but big as in it encompasses a lot. So we're going to be talking about the 7 ways to program for generalization. So what we'll have is we will talk about each one. I'll tell you the definition, and then we'll have an example of it, and then we'll have time for questions at the end. So typically, we talk for like 3 minutes, and then we have a bunch of 3 questions that take us 15 minutes. Tonight's a little bit different. So like I said, we're going to go through each of the ways to program for generalization. If you have questions throughout the process, please feel free to stop me, ask questions, and there will be time for questions at the end too. So I'm going to turn my camera off because we record these and put them on YouTube. So if you can't make it, you can always watch them there. Other than that, some just quick announcements. We do have a Breakdown the Beast on Saturday this weekend. We have one the following Saturday as well. So back to back. And then, yeah, we have a holiday party coming up on the 23rd. So if you're interested in joining us, feel free to pop by. We have some giveaways. So drop by, see myself, Kevin, and Amy. It's the 23rd at 5 p.m. Pacific time. Without further ado, let's talk about generalization. So use procedures to promote stimulus and response generalization. We loop this together as one big term. Just generalization. There's an entire chapter in the Cooper book dedicated to this. That's how important this section of the task list is. So I would definitely recommend that you check out that chapter. It goes pretty in depth about each of the ways to program. I am going to talk you through the 7 that are identified throughout that chapter. So the first way to program for generalization is training loosely. The reason I'm talking about training loosely first is because it's non-critical, not meaning it's not important. Non-critical simply means it does not directly impact the skill you're teaching. And what I mean by that is when we use training loosely, we change a non-critical element of the teaching or learning environment. So if I'm teaching a kiddo how to write his name, I might wear a red shirt today. I might wear a blue shirt tomorrow. My shirt does not impact his ability or his learning acquisition of writing his name. What this helps with, first off, training loosely can be used as a way to combat faulty stimulus control is what I'm trying to say there. True story, I once worked with a learner and he was probably, I don't have favorites, but if I had favorites, he was probably one of my favorite kiddos I've ever worked with. But he loved red, like his favorite color was red. And so whenever he would go into a room, he would only want to sit in the red chair. And when we did centers, we would rotate and he would only sit in the red chair, and he would engage in problem behaviors if he didn't have the ability to sit in the red chair. And so what we did is we found out, we required him because it was becoming a problem behavior. So we switched out the chairs in the classroom, did a little environmental manipulation. So we removed the red chair from his learning room and we put a black and a blue chair and let him choose between those. And the day that we did that, all of his goals went to 0. Like he would not respond to any demands that were placed. He was not answering any of his program targets. And what we found is there was a bit of almost faulty stimulus control, but he was had very restrictive interests and would only respond when the red chair was in the environment. So we had to start using this way to program generalization because we want the behavior to occur in all settings. So what we would do is we would switch out the chairs. Sometimes there would be a red chair, sometimes there wouldn't. Again, the red chair doesn't impact his ability to learn a certain skill because it's non-critical. Here's the example that we have on the screen. Patrick switched therapy rooms every hour when learning to tie his shoe. The room that you learn to tie your shoe in has no direct impact on being able to tie your shoe. So training loosely is changing a non-critical element. Uniforms, the room you're in, if you're at the table, if you're on the ground, all of those things are non-critical. So that's what that one is. Cool. If you have a question on it, feel free to throw it in the chat. I'm going to continue on. Next, we have mediation. Mediation. So fun fact about Miko, I was a double major in undergraduate. I was a business administration and law and politics major. And so I had all these intentions to go to law school. And what mediation is in the legal world is when you have someone come in and they help you determine the outcome of your disagreement. So if me and someone else on this call disagreed that like this house was mine, we might need to go to mediation, meaning someone else kind of helps us determine the judgment, so to speak. Mediation is very similar in applied behavior analysis. What mediation is it's finding someone in the environment and teaching them, training them to reinforce the behavior. The reason this promotes generalization is because when we use mediation, the behavior is more likely to occur in the natural environment. Why is that? Well, it's because the behavior is contacting reinforcement in the natural environment. And when a behavior contacts reinforcement, it will strengthen. We know that. So that's why we use mediation to help strengthen a behavior. The example here, the analyst conducts regular caregiver trainings that include teaching caregivers what new procedures have been implemented and giving them a list of behaviors to reinforce under specific situations in the community. So when we use mediation, when we enlist the help of caregivers or stakeholders or others in the environment to help reinforce the behavior, and also not provide reinforcement to problem behaviors, right? If we have something on extinction, we should also teach them not to provide reinforcement. That's using mediation. So mediation using someone in the environment. Sweet. Multiple exemplar training. This is like scientists trying to be fancy, right? We used exemplar. All this is multiple example training. Not sure why we couldn't use the simple word, but this is what we got. So multiple exemplar training or multiple example is teaching multiple examples of a behavior of a stimulus to a learner. This one primarily focuses on stimulus generalization, but we can teach response generalization with it. But some prime examples, when you're teaching a learner to tack the vehicle, you're going to show them all different types of vehicles, right? I don't want a learner to only be able to tack the bus. I want them to tack the bus and a truck and a van and an SUV and a Ford and a Lincoln and a Mercury and all the different types of vehicles. They should know those fall under that vehicle category. So that's promoting for stimulus generalization, right? So it's just using multiple examples. While teaching Theo to tact emotions, his therapist would display the same set of emotions in a new set of pictures each week. So for example, say we had sad, happy, and mad, and we showed them on one set of children, and then we would find those same emotions and just use different children in the pictures, or different adults in the pictures, or animals, or emojis, or whatever the case is. You're changing out the stimulus there. So it's multiple exemplar training. All right, next on the docket, indiscriminable contingencies. This probably was the most difficult one for me, and not in the fact that it was difficult, but that I had never heard of it before, and we don't use the word indiscriminable a whole lot. But indiscriminable, that's how I remember it, because indiscriminable is like something I don't know, right? That word is big, it's long, and it's kind of funky. We don't use it a whole lot. So an indiscriminable contingency simply is anything outside of a continuous reinforcement schedule. So it is an intermittent reinforcement schedule. More specifically, it's when we do not know when reinforcement is coming. An FR2 would still be considered an indiscriminable contingency. It just would not be as indiscriminable as a VR8 or a VR30, right? The more indiscriminable, or sorry, the higher that number, the more indiscriminable the schedule is. The reason this is important is because in the natural environment, our behaviors are not always reinforced. And so in order for our behaviors to generalize to different environments, we need to thin that reinforcement schedule to be similar to the natural environment. That's ultimately what we want to happen. It doesn't matter if your learner can display the skills in a contrived setting. If they can't demonstrate it in the natural environment and in novel settings, then our behavior change procedures aren't really working. After a skill begins to be acquired, the analyst thins the schedule of reinforcement. Before we move on, this is a very effective way to study. So if you are coming across task list items that you're having difficulty with, the exam is all applied examples. It's not definitions. So when you see stuff here, we like to give lots of examples. That's what we feel is most important, because you have to be able to apply the material. So if you're struggling with something, try to create your own examples like we're doing here tonight. If you can't do that, that shows that you don't truly understand the material and you need to go back, obviously find the definition, but more important than that, learn how to apply it to different settings. And I will say it is important to be able to apply it to your everyday life, but a lot of stuff in mock exams and whatnot is going to be clinical. And so you should also be able to apply it to clinical settings, right? So make sure that if you're focusing on real life examples, you also are able to create some of those clinical examples as well. Super important. All right, let's keep rolling. Programming common stimuli is our next one. Programming, what this is it is exactly what it sounds like. Programming common stimuli is taking the items that you are trying to teach and you're bringing them into the contrived setting. So this one, taking items from the natural environment, bringing them into the contrived setting. The reason this is important, obviously, is because if we teach you something in the contrived setting, you should be able to display it in the natural setting. For example, another real life example, we worked with this kiddo on teaching him how to sort his silverware. That was like one of the goals that his caregivers wanted him to work on at home, to be a part of like their routine and chores and things of that nature. And so we just had some silverware sitting around the clinic, and it was a lot of like baby forks and baby spoons and stuff like that. And so they put in the program and they taught him how to sort those things with the baby forks and baby spoons. And would you know it, when he got home, he wasn't able to sort his silverware because the stimuli were so different. If we would have brought the stimuli in from the natural environment, and we did, we shifted to that. But had that been done in the first place, that skill would have generalized quicker, right? So if I want to teach you how to ride your bike, it's easier for me to teach you on your bike than to teach you on like a mountain bike with 10 speeds or a fat tire or a tricycle. Like, we should be using the type of stimuli that you are going to encounter when you're performing the skill in the natural environment. Here's our example. Penelope worked relentlessly to teach Nova how to fold laundry. Whenever she worked on this skill, Penelope would grab a pair of pants, a shirt, and socks from Nova's drawer, and then ask her to fold them. So we're teaching this learner how to fold clothes, and we're using her clothes to fold, which makes sense because probably you're going to fold your clothes the most. Now, obviously, you might help out with the family chores and, you know, fold everybody's clothes, but primarily your responsibility is your clothes. So that's what we're doing that. Sweet. Teaching non-examples. This is a funny one that I think everyone forgets. It's definitely one of the 7 primary ways to program for generalization. But again, I don't think we always remember it. So it's exactly what it sounds like, teaching non-examples, or it's referred to as teaching negative examples too. So this is, it's twofold. So first, it's teaching the learner when to engage in the behavior and when not to. So when it's appropriate and when it's not appropriate. I know I've been in the field for some time now, 6 or 7 years or something like that, but I've worked with kids even longer. Since I was in college, I worked at the Boys and Girls Club and then a camp for kids with serious health challenges, and then kind of continued on. So I've been working with kids for a good bit now, 8 years or so, 10 years, something like that. But we're regularly taught, and I'm sure you all have been, that we don't say no, or we don't use don't. We tell the client what they should do, right? Instead of saying don't run, we say use your walking feet, or let's walk in the hallways, or things of that nature. This is contrary to what we've been taught. So teaching non-examples, the literal example they use in the Cooper book is to say, don't do it. And there's research behind showing a learner when it's not appropriate to do it. So not saying that you should be contrarian to whatever your BCBA teaches, but I am saying that you should go into the Cooper book, specifically on page 727. And if someone says that you should never use don't, then maybe you have a little bit of research that you can say, hey, this does help teach certain things. Now, I want to say I do think that we should reserve this because when we say, this is just me on my personal pedestal, I guess, but when we use the word no, it needs to have meaning. And so if there's a dangerous situation and I always use the word no, it's not going to hold as much weight as if our client was running across the room with scissors and I need to say no. So I do think there's a time and a place, and ultimately you need to do what your behavior analyst, supervising analyst says. I'm just pointing out that this is one of the ways to program for generalization. So teaching you when not to engage in a behavior and when to, it would also be saying, like if I held up my cell phone, this is a phone. And if I hold up a water bottle, this is not a phone. So that would be teaching non-examples. Our example here, you show Avery when she should ask for help and when not to ask for help. This is going to help with a behavior. A lot of kids, sometimes learners in general, can engage in scrolling, or they, if you teach a kiddo to ask for help, what you'll notice is they start to ask for it before they even need to. And so this might be a way to help encourage the client to actually ask for help when it's needed and not just to get help quickly, right? If it's reinforcing, we might ask for it quickly. So that's why we use this. And then the last one that we're going to talk about is a general case analysis. I saved this one for last for a reason. This is the big one. This is like the end all be all, so to speak. It's kind of the most broad one. So when you're identifying these in a scenario and you see something super broad, likely it's a general case analysis. Amy, when she first described this to me, if you've ever watched Western movies, you likely have seen a bank robbery, right? And so in a bank robbery, what happens is before they rob the bank, they go and they're going to see, they call it case in the joint, but they see like who is at the bank, who holds the keys, how much money is in the vault, how many security guards, what time of day is shift change, all of the things that you need to know in order to rob the bank. That's what they do. That's casing the joint. And that's very similar to a general case analysis. So in a general case analysis, what you as the supervising analyst are doing is you are seeing all of the different stimulus conditions that are required for the learner to engage in the behavior. So if you, in this example here, we want to teach Layla to buy a video game. So what we do is we're going to go and analyze the whole process. How do you buy a game? You can buy it in the App Store. You can buy it at Target. You can buy it directly on your computer. You can download it from your gaming system. You can do all of these different things. You can pay with a credit card. You can pay with maybe Cash App or Zelle or Venmo or my Apple Card or whatever, right? And so you can engage in a lot of different behaviors in order to gain the same outcome. And that's what a general case analysis is. So a lot of times when we're working with adult clients and we're teaching them how to job readiness skills or things of that nature, general case analyses come in handy because we can see all the different things you need to do your job successfully. We can go find those out and then we can program them. So that's what a general case analysis is. Again, it's the most broad. For me, it's the easiest to determine if we're using this in a scenario because little tricks, not saying you should use these, but they are little tricks. Usually the scenario is a little bit longer. Usually it talks about multiple things. Now, you can be tricked because we might have an example that's like stimulus or response generalization, but it sounds like they've done a general case analysis. Remember, the general case analysis is us as the analyst figuring out all of the things that you need to do. Response generalization might be her buying a game with her credit card, and then she goes and buys the game with cash, and then she goes and buys the game on layaway or something like that, right? Different responses for the same stimulus. So, sweet. Well, that's that. That's the different ways to program for generalization. I'm going to stop sharing real quick, answer any questions that y'all have, and I will also put your names into a little drawing thing and then give away something free. But if you have questions, feel free to unmute yourself.